Hello, everybody. It is Tara Boothby, Sojourn Psychology. And if you know anything about me as a psychologist, you'll know that I define myself as an experiential attachment focused clinician. And what does this mean? So, really, this is some language coined by Dr. Sue Johnson, who is the originator of emotionally focused therapy. And emotionally focused therapy is a model that we use in the landscape of attachment theory to figure out how love science promotes better health in relationships. And we do this by getting underneath the surface, underneath the content, and working with people in their emotional landscape. One of the simplest metaphors, and this is just really what I want to notice today, is Sue started this metaphor of the dance floor. She also uses dance as a metaphor for our strategy. Clinically, we use something that she calls tango, and it is beautiful and impacting and works extremely well in the psychology office. But what about the dance floor? When we think about couples, we think about families, we think about any sort of relationship, there is a longing to be met in our unmeetable place or just to be met. And the dance floor is a metaphor that we can use to consider the space where we're meeting. Sometimes people are more readily available or they're naturally ones to linger on the dance floor. You think of maybe even a dance that's occurring in a school gym or dance lessons, or maybe when you go to an all-inclusive resort and there's a dance party. There's those people who just jump right in and they're ready to go and dance with whomever is around them. And then there's people who have a harder time getting onto the dance floor. So first off, I'll say, like I've already given you a few pictures, but it's really interesting and good to consider what is my own personal image of the dance floor that I see my relationships occurring on. I do often think of a school gymnasium when I'm thinking of the dance floor. And I think the lights are kind of dim. There's kind of that golden hue that goes on in these child dance scenarios or junior high, high school dance scenarios. I see bleachers where there's some people sitting in the bleachers. There's some people who maybe feel more confident. They're on the dance floor. I think there's a DJ in my metaphor. That works for me. I've heard people talk about dancing in the forest. I've heard people talk about, yeah, dance lessons, people who have more experience in the dance environment. They're more formally trained. They might have more vivid or informed metaphors. But for me, it's a school gymnasium. That works. And really, when we're thinking about the dance floor, sometimes we'll use this language that in relationships, there's the keeper of emotional closeness, or there's somebody who's more pursuery, somebody who's willing to say, hey, come on, let's dance. And there's somebody who maybe is more withdrawing, somebody who is more of the keeper of peace in the relationship. And they're maybe needing to be bid in or to understand this picture of the dance floor. When we are somebody who is more readily placing herself on the dance floor, we're ready to party, we're ready to dance, we're ready to communicate. The metaphor just clicks more readily. Somebody who is maybe on the bleachers or along the hedge of the tree line, somebody who is watching the foam pit at the all-inclusive resort really needs to see the metaphor of the dance floor to say, okay, how close to proximity am I? And if my partner is really on the center of the dance floor and I'm not meeting them there, how are we really going to be able to engage and soften? There's all this important language that goes along with this metaphor. And I like using it with couples. I've just started being much more explicit, talking about the dance floor metaphor. The couples that I work with, the families that I work with, the teenagers in families that I work with are finding having this concrete view and making it their own, the metaphor, a sense of self, something that's inside of us to consider, like, how is my dance floor doing? Am I on the dance floor? Do I feel like the person that I'm longing to be close to is on the dance floor with me? And then how can we talk to our very, very important people about our longing to be in that intimate space where our shared experience can help us to have corrective epiphany, that we can continue to transform our views of self and others, that we can have more and more positive view of self and more positive view of others. This is all the landscape for corrective epiphany. So I hope you all are doing well. And this is a little bit of an EFT soundbite. It's something that we could miss or bypass, something that we might not always pay attention to, but it's definitely one of the most beautiful metaphors of the very many things that Dr. Sue Johnson did for us, is to help us consider the dance floor and how we encourage ourselves and others to get on the floor and dance with each other. Let's communicate, baby. Peace and love.